of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to a new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I am your host, Juan, and I am joined by the cast, the crew, the hobbits. Craig?
What's up? I was gonna do something else, but I was like, no, I'll save it.
Yeah,
Edward?
I figured.
Where's he, precious?
And Zach?
What's up?
Oh my god. Hello.
What up, Robert? What up, Juventino? I'm white. You can't.
Hooventino.
Juventino.
Movie.
Mhm.
I'm excited. This is the first time in a while that we have all four of us here, and we are here to talk the girthy Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, on its 20th anniversary month. But if you guys joined us for last week's disaster, I want to personally come out and say I apologize, and we had a lot of technical difficulties. It was a 40-minute show between just me and Zach missed out on at least 25 minutes of the show. So
No, let's be honest. I missed out on the whole 40 minutes. Let's be honest.
you did. I tried. But for those of you that did not get to hear your emails read last week, I'm going to read them again this week, and we're gonna have a fun time today.
We want to start off with some emails.
We will. We'll get some emails in a little bit. 20th anniversary of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers today. Next week, 25th anniversary of Titanic. And then we finish the year with our Denzel episode. The biggest, I'm going to say it. It's the biggest top 5+5 episode I think we've ever had. Just as far as like the build up throughout the entire 12-month calendar year. So I think, we got a fun few episodes coming up. And then we're starting the year with some 2022 movies. January, we're starting off with Elvis. I think it's going to be a fun watch and a fun conversation. But everybody here, how have you guys been? You guys have a good weekend, Craig?
We've been, big chilling. Went out to Guthrie, which used to be the old capital of Oklahoma, if I remember correctly. And we did some little Christmas stuff. Went and saw some lights and visited some old timey stores. Did some shopping.
Nice.
Last weekend, me, Juan, and Ed went down to Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
How about them Cowboys?
It was
10th win of the season yesterday. A little bit of a heart pounding action thriller. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead, Craig. Sorry, I just got a little excited.
It was first time for all of us to see a game in the new stadium. First time for Ed to see one period. First time for Johnny to see one period.
Yep.
I went back in like 2004, but man, we had a blast. Won't talk about what happened after the game, but yeah, we had a blast.
54 points.
Yeah. So
and 33 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It was. If you're a Cowboys lover, Cowboys hater, it doesn't matter. We thoroughly enjoyed every second of it.
Very fun experience.
Yeah.
I have been to basketball games, college football games. I've been to wrestling shows, concerts. I've been to WrestleManias. Nothing was as exciting as an NFL game live. That was unbelievable.
So I actually won. I didn't win. I my job has some pretty nice perks. Me and Johnny were actually able to go pretty much field level. We're sitting right behind the Colts bench, so Johnny got to see like Sam Ellinger and DeForest Buckner, huge dude. I'm a pretty tall guy, but DeForest Buckner was solid. He was a tall guy. But yeah, man, I agree with you, Johnny. I've been to concerts. I've been to Texas Tech. I've been to Baylor. I've been to Oklahoma State.
You've been OU Texas.
OU Texas. I went during COVID season, so I don't know the full experience of that. But
It don't fucking matter.
That Cowboys game was it was spectacular. I'll put it that way.
Let's dig into last week's episode again. It was a little bit of a debacle, but if you guys want to go back and listen to it, check it out wherever you listen to podcasts at iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music, Spotify, Anchor, Podbean. You can also check us out live here every Monday from 6 to 8-ish on Imasawa Productions YouTube channel. You can also check us out at prescribedfilms.com, www.prescribedfilms.com. You can also check us out on, wherever you listen to podcasts at. Last week, me and Zach had a semi-fun conversation about Man on Fire. If you have not seen the movie, I highly recommend you go back and check it out. It is available on Amazon Prime to rent for $2.99. Check it out on Apple TV. But let's get into some recent watches. Zach, do you want to go first? What did you get to check out this week?
Yeah, it was kind of just a slow week for me. I rewatched Avatar. I'm gonna go see Way of the Water this Friday, so let you guys know how that is next week. Still watching.
When are you going, Zach? When are you going?
Friday night at 6 o'clock. What are you going? Are you going to Dolby?
I actually do not have any tickets. I'm pretty upset. AMC only offers 3D showings.
It's primarily in 3D. I don't think you can even find a 2D showing of it.
All 2D is non-premium.
What does that mean?
Wow.
Smaller theaters.
Just regular theaters, yeah.
So,
no Dolby, no IMAX.
Yeah, peasant theaters.
Peasant theaters.
Well, no, I mean, like, for somebody who always goes to the Dolby, and I pay the AMC monthly thing to go see the movies, I'm a little upset. Not all of us can do 3D, so I'm a little upset about that.
I get headaches.
I get queasy, like if I'm playing Call of Duty.
Well, like, I can't help it. Like, I visually cannot do 3D.
Nope, I'm on the same train.
That just means James Cameron doesn't need none of our money, and I'm going to check it out when it hits Blu-ray.
He don't even need our money then. Redbox that bitch.
Or see it, or rent it from the library for free.
I'll bootleg it off the internet.
And then you end up watching this one movie called Avatar.
Smoke on the water.
Yeah. What happened in the water? Birth of the water?
They put their tails where?
So you watched the original Avatar, Zach. Let me. Has your opinion changed from last year to this year? Do you still think it's a superb film?
I mean, every time I don't even know. When did we review it? 2019, 20, something like that. I like it a little bit more every time I watch it. I mean, I don't, like I said, I wasn't on the hype when it originally came out, and so I'm just like, okay, blue people and colonization and all that stuff. So
say it. Hit them with it. It's fine.
It's fine. I supposedly this new one is even better than the original. So
no shit. He had
who
13
knows?
years to
We'll
do it.
see. We'll see. But go ahead.
Like the one thing I think that is taking away from the Way of Water is just how many times he had to release the original Avatar just to go ahead and stroke the ego, man. Like
and
why?
Titanic, because he wasn't making he wasn't making money during that time. So
I mean, hold on a second though. You say that stroking the ego and all that.
It's true.
But
he couldn't take the L with Endgame, bro.
Yeah, okay, but why point him out when every other director does it with their anniversary in their movies?
Okay, but
because it wasn't just an anniversary.
Like that, boom, anniversary. I get it, but literally, Endgame tops you, and all of a sudden you turn around and release it. Like,
dude, those are real movies.
I understand.
It cheapens the movie, man.
I understand, but does it cheapen the movie? It's not like he's paying people to go see or pay. He
was whoring out Avatar.
All they're doing is releasing it and just giving a whole new generation and a whole new class of people to go see it. Just because he releases it doesn't mean people have to go spend money.
Come back.
Yeah, but how many times does he have to re-release it? It's on Disney Plus, for God's sake.
It's not like they added anything. It's not like he's doing like a special commentary or anything.
Well, hold on.
And in the past, how many years he still hasn't re-released that one after Endgame? After he got back on top, he didn't release it again.
The one that did just get re-released this past year, a few months ago, does have the first like 15 minutes of the new movie in at the end of it. So
But I mean,
Oh, so
Bernard,
you
that's
take
just a
it's
teaser, basically. It's a promotional thing. You
Just
know
you
a
watch
that.
the first 15 minutes, you still have 3 hours to go.
yeah, he just
Yep.
gives.
Just saying.
I mean, he just gives you the tip.
Anyway, still watching Tulsa King, Yellowstone. I'm about halfway through Wednesday, and I watched the new Harry and Meghan documentary on Netflix about just Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. It's actually quite interesting if you don't really know the whole story behind it and everything. So that's just what I've been watching.
So
Yeah.
you watched Harry and Meghan Markle
Over
before you
Wednesday.
finished Wednesday.
Yes,
I'm disappointed,
'Cause
Zach.
we're watching it an episode a day, so it's
Episode a day. It's on Netflix.
What is okay? Listen, what is this whole thing about binge watching? What happened to just watching it just as you go? Why does everything have to be binge watch now?
Bro, we want
Yeah.
the whole thing now. We want the whole burrito now.
Ed
Well,
doesn't
that's-
want
that's
just
the
the tip.
problem.
He wants the whole shaft.
We want the whole burrito now, not leftovers.
That's the problem.
I don't get why you would want to wait unless it was like something massive in between the episodes. You're like, man, I really need to ponder that. Like if they released Civil War Infinity War Endgame, you might sit there and be like, okay, let me process everything, kind of see where we're going between. It's an 8-episode series. It's not like there's.
I started doing it with Stranger Things. Like I don't
That's
want
different.
to know every single thing and every single night. Let's just take it episode by episode. I don't need to know the whole secret by the end of night one.
What about you, Craig? Zach, would you recommend anything out of there that you named off?
Wednesday, like I said, Tulsa King, Yellowstone. So basically the same stuff.
What about you, Craig? You check anything interesting other than some sports?
Yeah, some sports, and watched Friday, as my daughter calls it. She just knows it's a day of the week.
You let her watch Friday?
No.
That's why I was like, what?
I was like, okay.
We were watching Wednesday, and she was like, what's this?
Okay.
And so Mallory told her Wednesday, and so later on she was like, are you going to watch Friday again? It's like, no, her name's Wednesday. She just knew it was
funny.
a day of the week.
Nice.
So yeah, watched Wednesday. Been all over anime. Been watching again Gundam, Dragon Ball.
So we haven't seen you in a few weeks.
Chainsaw Man.
You're still on the anime kick then from a few weeks ago. Nice.
Yeah, I'm still on it. And
Chainsaw
then I watched I don't remember if I told you guys this or not, but I watched the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday
special. Yeah.
Really good. It was solid. It was solid.
Solid, eh? And would you recommend anything?
The Guardians special and Wednesday. Yeah, I binged Wednesday.
I didn't get I'm having kind of a slow week, but after last week, I did check out the Tragedy Macbeth. I rewatched Tragedy Macbeth on Apple TV. I watched Deja Vu, An American Gangster, getting some Denzel girth in there. And then I checked out Causeway on Apple TV, the new A24 movie with Jennifer Lawrence. I got halfway into it. It's not bad. I really want to finish watching it soon, probably later today or tomorrow. And then I watched the girthiness that is the theatrical version of Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. If I had to recommend anything, go check out The Tragedy of Macbeth and Causeway. Go check out Apple TV in general. They also have Will Smith's new movie, Emancipation, that's on there. So, and you can check out Man on Fire. Highly recommend Man on Fire. Go check it out. Yeah. Ed, what about you? You have anything you want to recommend?
Kind of a slow week as far as media goes. I mean,
yeah,
most of what I've been doing, finished Wednesday in probably 3 days, and then basically Two Towers, and the rest of my time has been going towards the new Pokemon game.
Which I picked up.
Yeah.
Is it a mobile game?
Negative. Switch console for that matter.
Console?
Honestly, very, very good. I like the new additives for it.
Yeah.
It is different than your usual, I guess. I feel like some of it is easier in a lot of ways because, like, pretty much within 8 days' time, I think I went from picking up the game, starting the game, and beating the top champion or whatever. So, I mean, I've still got some stuff to do, but basically making it from that to the top champion was about 8 days for me, and that was kind of grinding. But yeah, if I had anything to say, I'd definitely request both of those. If you're a Pokemon fan, then kill it, get it up, get it, and go out.
Get what up?
Get the game up and go out.
Oh.
As well as Wednesday, can't recommend it enough, man. The show was awesome. It really was. Can't wait for season 2, and supposedly they've got like enough writing for like a 4th season, is what I've heard.
Nice. If you guys want to check us out on social media, go ahead and check us out on Facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Twitter is @Cine-Men405, and then the email is cinemen921@gmail.com. But Zach, you have some facts, some truth facts about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so number one, the battle at Helm's Deep was edited down from 20 hours of footage, shot over a 4-month period with the rain machine battering down on the cast. Andy Serkis drank bottles of quote-unquote Gollum juice. It was a mixture of honey, lemon, and ginger to keep his throat lubricated for his intense vocal performance. Viggo Mortensen was so impressed with the horse his character rode that he purchased him from the owners. The horse was shipped back to New Zealand for the additional shots that were filmed in 2002. And the sound of the fell beast that the ring wraiths ride is actually the noise of a donkey. So.
Oh, interesting.
And those are your 4 things you didn't know about the 2 towers.
I didn't know any of those about the 2 towers. But now, guys, we are getting into one of our favorite segments that is very near and dear to our hearts. Today, we're talking our top 5 movie elves/hobbits. All right, guys, we are talking our top 5 movie elves and/or/hobbits for this top 5. I don't even think it matters as long as they have the pointy ears and consider themselves an elf or hobbit. You guys can let us know what your top 5 movie characters are. I don't have any honorable mentions. Does anybody else have any honorable mentions they want to run through?
Negative.
No. Craig, number 5 sound.
5.
Number 5. I'll go ahead and kick us off. I'm going to go with my number 5. Dobby from Lord of the Rings. I believe he made his first appearance in Chamber of Secrets. So that's, when you think of Harry Potter, that's not really one of the first things you think about is elves, at least for me. But he's a little cute little fella, okay, with his obsession with socks or whatever it is, and his little holiness of a dress that he wears.
Okay, Ed's having like a stroke right now.
But with his little cuteness, I guess, if you say, he made it to my top 5 list. So number 5 for me is going to be Dobby from Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Zach, who's your number 5?
Number 5 for me is Hobbit, Mr. Bilbo Baggins from Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series. Truly kind of like the original, if you want to say the original adventurer in this franchise, played by Ian Holm in Lord of the Rings and Martin Freeman in the Hobbit series. there are times when I think the Bilbo character is actually a little bit more interesting than Frodo. We can get into that later in the episode, but it's always his story is kind of the backdrop of everything that comes later in Lord of the Rings. So number 5 is Bilbo Baggins.
Nice. Craig, number 5 for you?
Number 5 for me is going to be Malekith from Thor: The Dark World.
Nice.
I think the whole costume design of him was pretty good, and even though the movie wasn't that great, I think he was a good-looking elf.
Edward, number 5 for you, sir.
Number 5 for me comes from a comedy. Technically, he's not an elf, but he sure was raised by him, so technically he is. Buddy the Elf from Elf. Will Ferrell and his ridiculousness. Yeah, simple as that, man. That's all you need to know. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Simple.
Number 4.
4.
Number 4 for me is going to be, even though he was part of the travesty that is Land of the Misfit Toys, number 4 for me is going to be Hermie from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the claymation from back in the day.
There you go.
You know, he wanted to not be an elf anymore and just become a damn dentist. That's all he wanted to do in his life is mess with teeth. Him and Jeffrey Dahmer had the same dream. No.
Oh my god!
But number 4 for me is Hermie from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So it's an adorable little elf.
Well, that definitely puts a spin on that character.
I don't know who's next. I lost count. Zach, who's your number 4?
Number 4 is a character we're going to be talking about today, Frodo Baggins, played by Elijah Wood. If you're going to do the complete 360 of Bilbo, that would be Frodo. Probably has to deal with a lot more of a harder challenge than what Bilbo had to go through. But still, it's fun to watch this character through these 3 films, and we'll get into it.
Number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me is going to be Sam.
Ellinger?
No.
He's got pointy ears?
I was going to say something witty, but I don't know. No, I think Bilbo. I think Sam is, growing up and watching these movies, I always liked Frodo just because he was kind of the main guy. But Sam holds it down. Sam is the definition of a real one. So that's my number 4.
PIC.
Edward, number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me, I am going to go back, to the mid-90s, something that just sprang up again. I'm talking to Santa Claus, all right? And who am I talking about other than Bernard? Man, Bernard tried to be the logic. He really did. And can't really hate that. Bernard is awesome in the Santa Claus. So, yeah.
Nice.
Number 3.
3.
Number 3 for me is going to be from the series that we're talking about today, played by Liv Tyler. Arwen, I believe I'm pronouncing that right. It's my favorite elf in all of the Lord of the Rings.
I bet it is.
Lord of the Rings series and franchise. So, not to mention, her dad can walk this way. But
he would definitely probably not walk your way. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, why not throw her in there? A little bit of a flavor mix. Probably I think she's one of the top tier elves of this franchise.
Yeah.
So, number 3 for me is Arwen. Craig, number 3 for you?
Number 3 for me is going to be Legolas. Man's just cold with the bow. Nothing more else you need to say. He's a damn good looking too.
Edward, number 3 for you?
Number 3, I am going ahead and riding coattails right now. I agree, Legolas. No one gets better. No one's better with bows. No one's better with daggers. Dude has the eyesight of 5 eagles, and still the eagles are jealous of this man. Doesn't even matter. Complete bad. Just all the way around. Who else slid down 10 flights of stairs while picking people off? Like, come on.
That man had an automatic bow.
He had all of it. He had the reload. He had the friggin', auto sight. It didn't matter. You were out. It didn't matter. He could whoop you with his bow.
He was badass to play in the video games.
Nice. Number 2.
2,
Number 2 for me, I believe he's already been mentioned. He is your favorite, adorable, lovable 6'5" elf. I'm talking about Buddy the Elf. Dude, this not only is he just a funny character and a fun character, but this movie is now like, I think this movie is put up there with stuff like A Christmas Story and It's a Wonderful
The
Life.
Grinch.
Yeah.
It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Story. I think people put this movie up there now with like those Christmas classics. And Buddy the Elf is just a joy of a character. So that's my number 2. Zach, number 2 for you.
Number 2 is Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom, or we'll be talking about him here in a little bit. So he has a lot of good moments in this movie. So
Number 2 for you, Craig.
Number 2 for me is going to be Elrond, played by Hugo Weaving. That's a smooth talking man. That man can talk your ear off, and he talk my ear off. So that's my number 2, Elrond.
Edward, number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me was the backbone of this entire series, Samwise Gamgee, man. This Hobbit held it down, carried Frodo, literally, figuratively, and all the way around. And I'm sorry, he got what he deserved in the end. Simple as that.
What did he get in the end, Ed?
Well, you got the girl to go back home and all that good stuff. You got to have a happy life.
Okay.
Oh,
He deserved a happy life because he did all that crap. Like,
It should be Samwise and the rings.
Samwise and this fool who thought he could carry the ring.
what kind of rings is he using?
Next subject, please.
Number 1.
1,
Number 1 for me is going to be Patch, the fun, lovable elf from Santa Claus the movie, played by the legendary Dudley Moore, starring John Lithgow. A fun Christmas movie that I came across years and years ago from the 80s. And, it's one of my favorite all-time Christmas movies. And I think, Patch the elf gets taken advantage of. He's kind of like the lead elf. And John Lithgow just uses and abuses him and takes advantage of him and tries to turn him against good old Santa Claus. And it's a good movie. It's a good story. I highly recommend it if you guys haven't seen it. But that's my number 1 favorite elf is Patch, played by Dudley Moore. So, number 1 for you, Craig. Or no, Zach, sorry.
Number 1 is Buddy the Elf. And like you said, played by Will Ferrell. Talk about a movie that turns 20 years old next year. So, and it's still people still love it every single year. So what can you say?
To this day.
Craig, number 1 for you.
Number 1 for me, I'm going with Zach, Buddy the Elf. A movie that, when I was young, I remember my parents walking out and saying, like, that movie was ridiculous. It was stupid. And over the years, just like Nacho Libre, it's become a classic to me. That's what makes it what it is. The dumb, nonchalant, kind of carefree movie that Will Ferrell puts out there. It's just a great movie all around. So it's my number 1.
Edward, number 1 for you.
Number 1 for me, he's been mentioned once, simple, and, Dobby. My man had to go ahead and almost kill his savior, in his eyes at least.
His Lord and Savior?
Practically. And then ended up being killed literally for helping him out.
Dobby's a free elf.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. It's just a movie.
So if
He
you guys
still
wanna,
died.
If you guys want to let us know your top 5 movie elves or hobbits, send us in an email at cinemen921@gmail.com, and we will read out some emails at the end of the show and at the end of next week. But today we are talking The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, with a December 18th, 2002 release date. IMDb currently has it at 8.8, Rotten Tomatoes at 95%, the Metascore is at 87%, while the Google users have it at 86%. With a budget of $94 million, it grossed a little over $947 million at the box office. It won 2 Oscars, being nominated for a total of 6. While Frodo and Sam edge closer to Mordor with the help of the shifty Gollum, the divided fellowship makes a stand against a new ally, and his the legend, the journey continues. Obviously, from Fellowship. If you guys remember last year, we talked about the 20th anniversary of the Fellowship of the Ring. So yeah, with a cast with Zach, you want to read off our outstanding Lord of the Rings Two Towers cast?
Yeah, with an ensemble cast of Elijah Wood, Ian McKellen, Liv Tyler, Sean Astin, Viggo Mortensen, Kate Blanchett, Orlando Bloom, Christopher Lee, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, John Rhys Davis, and many, many more. Carl Urban as well.
Carl Urban.
Am I also? Did I not also see? What's his name from Chucky?
Oh, Brad Dourif. Yep,
Brad
that's
Dourif
one
is
time.
in there. Yeah.
Yep.
So first time versus now, Zach. I'll start with you. Do you remember the first time you got to see this movie in particular, and what was it like revisiting it for the episode?
Yeah, saw this in the theater. I unfortunately did not have the pleasure to say I saw Fellowship in the theater just because of some health issues, but I was really excited about this one, Two Towers. And when I walked out, I thought it was still just as on the same level as Fellowship. I was excited for Return of the King for the next year. On this watch, I still really like this one. We'll get into it, but I have some nitpicks, mostly with pacing. But other than that, I still think it's a fun movie.
Believe it or not, this is I thought I had seen this one, but I guess I've only seen Fellowship like a few times. This is my very first time with the watch for this movie all the way through. So from start to finish.
How dare you?
So it should be a fun conversation. Craig, what about you? Do you remember the first time you seen Two Towers, and what was it like revisiting it this week?
Yep. So every year we would get gift cards to AMC from my dad's real parents, and we would go to the movies and see it. This was my 9th birthday. We went to AMC Quail, and man, yeah, it was a family night. I remember, I could tell you, like, I was listening to a yellow CD player with Story of the Year's new album. We were going. I can tell you everything about the night. Like that night was just. It was an excellent memory for me. All 3 of these movies were. So I think these movies I hold in pretty high regard. Just in memories and nostalgia alone. So.
Was it like? Did you have fun rewatching it?
Yeah, I do think I agree with Zach. There are some pacing issues. The more and more I watch Twin Towers, it's like, okay, like I've been through here. I know this part now. Like let's get it over with.
Two Towers.
Sorry, Two Towers.
I was like, well, wait.
Don't crucify me.
Oh yeah. No, I was like, wait.
Two Towers.
I had a joke,
easy
but
mistake to make.
I had a joke, but I'll leave it alone.
It's not a joke. Don't leave it.
No.
Ed, what about you? Do you remember the first time you watched it, and what was it like revisiting it this week?
First time I ever watched it, I don't remember like exactly when. I knew it was like probably at least 04, 05 or something like that. It's not too long after it came out. In a school class, for that matter. Teacher was really excited about it. Was like, "Hey, I got something."
That's why our education system is in the toilet.
Uh, the only thing I didn't like about it back then was that it took like 5 class periods to watch.
Yeah.
Other than that, I really liked it. I was just like, okay, so yeah.
And this was the theatrical edition that you guys watched in class, or was the extended?
Probably theatrical.
I think theatrical, if I'm not mistaken.
If it was extended, it would be a whole month.
But it took literally about a week to finish. This time, I mean,
weren't those the best weeks in school? Like, yeah, Christmas was coming up, and they'd be like, "All right, well, the test for that like semester or whatever was over, and so you're just filling time." And they rolled out that TV, and you're like,
"Oh,
this shit's about to be cake all week."
Yes,
especially if you're watching Lord of the Rings.
For Veterans Day, one year, I think it was in middle school, they let us watch Saving Private Ryan, which I don't know if that was appropriate, but
what school did you go to?
There's another joke that I don't want to say.
This time around, I mean, honestly, like I've always loved it. I've always thought this is one of the best movies out there, especially trilogies for that matter. So, yeah, simple as that, man. Let's get into it, I guess.
It's simple.
Zach, my sir, the floor is yours. Lead the conversation. This is your idea from last year. Let's do the 20th anniversary for each Lord of the Rings film. Take it away, sir.
All right, guys. So let's just get into it. Page 1. No, start talking about the book. No, I thought it was interesting the way this movie begins is, we kind of take a step back instead of just jumping right into Frodo and everybody's story. We kind of go back and see what happened to Gandalf after he falls in the Mines of Moria. And I still say, I don't know about you guys, I think it's a hell of an opening just for him to fall and grab the sword and start battling the Balrog midair, going down the mine.
Bro, okay, so I got one pick about this in all seriousness. And I ain't trying to just like take one on the movie, but literally, like, why did no one, and I get like Frodo was trying, but nobody else tried. Nobody else. Like Frodo got held back.
Right.
And obviously it was sturdy enough. Bro didn't fall with like pieces of the actual bridge. He was
the
like,
logistics of it.
And I'm just like, what are you doing? And then the Balrog flying down, and it's just got,
at the end of the day,
cramped. And it's like, come on.
Didn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, not even I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but do we really need to bring up logistics when it comes to a Lord of the Rings movie?
Well, don't get me wrong, I'm not bringing logistics, but nobody, guy is...
A freaking Schmeagol, which I can't even explain to you what a Schmeagol is guiding a bunch of hobbits to destroy a ring that looks like it was purchased at Toys R Us.
Smeagol used to be a hobbit way back in the day, or a river folk for that matter, actually. But literally, and this dude's supposed to be like badass, so nobody tried to save him.
Go ahead.
Because
it was like,
they knew there was a bigger mission.
I get that, but you're telling me nobody. Like,
bro, they told the man to cross the bridge, and he didn't cross the bridge. Let him go.
Well, and even he himself is like, go, you fools! You can't save me. So
fly, you fools! Yeah, and I guarantee you, if you saw me, be like, shit, ain't my problem.
Okay,
that man should have crossed the bridge when we crossed the bridge.
If all 4 of us were up there, and one was like, "Hey, look, I got this one, guys. Head out," and you seen him, you wouldn't be like,
"Bye.
I should probably get my boy." Like,
yeah, I'm gonna sit there and look at him, but if he's like running, like, hey, you gotta tell me twice.
So
don't gotta tell me twice,
and you'd be Aragorn.
Yeah,
like I'm trying to save him. You're trying to push me back.
Yeah, because you have to really have the entire mission.
So Zach, like I said, this is my first time watching this one out of the 3. Is this true that that really this is the more slow paced of the 3 films?
I would say yes to that.
Or do you think because remember last year I had a real big pacing issue with the first one. To me, I feel like this one is a little bit more uh, a little bit more like looking at my phone, my clock. Like, okay, I feel like there's only
Right.
really three big action adventure scenes in this movie. The rest of it is just feels like it's just setting up for Return of the
Yeah,
King.
so I think Zach, you'll probably agree with me. The biggest thing with this movie is the first one they tried to get everybody together, and so
Yeah.
it's telling the stories leading up to them together. And so once they're
Right.
together, you're like, okay, it's moving pretty quickly. With this one, it's like it's telling the story of them splitting back up and trying. It's like they're doing like a figure eight. They're coming together, they're leaving, they're coming together,
Yeah.
and there's just so
Right.
many different side
Yeah.
plots in
Yeah.
this particular film where you're like, damn, you're setting up a whole nother story. You're setting up a whole
Right.
nother story, and once you see it a couple times, you're like, I know where this is
Well,
going. I just
and by the time we get to Return of the King for next year, everything is a little bit more compact. Everything is a little bit more dense, and there's a lot more stakes, obviously, in
Yeah.
Return of the King, and a lot more of the characters are together. It's Aragorn and his team, and then Gandalf, and then Sam and Frodo are still doing their thing with the ring. So
I would say probably this is kind of a slow-paced film up until Helm's Deep. Like, I would say
Well-
that, like, the whole Riders of Rohan kind of speeds it up a bit and adds a little more bulk to it. But I would say, if you take that out, it's got a long pace to it up until Helm's Deep, at least.
I mean, there are moments in between the film, like in between that and Helm's Deep, like when they go see Theoden. I think that's actually a pretty good sequence. The Wolves of Isengard is pretty good. And then, yeah, you're right. It really does slow down between the Wolves of Isengard to them basically preparing for the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's very Aragorn's trying to figure out his love of life. Sam and Frodo are, Sam's kind of being, I'm not Sam, Frodo's kind of being very snippety to Sam because the ring's starting to be more powerful. We get Faramir's backstory. So it is, but it sets up a lot. So.
It also sets up. It didn't confuse me any, but it also set up to where it made it look like Frodo betrayed Schmeagol.
Yeah,
kind of, sort of.
Yeah,
you got to understand, like, Smeagol thinks like a 7-year-old does. You know what I mean? Like, that one thing, the ring in this case, is the one thing he really wants, and he'll kill to get it, literally. But at the same time, that other side is like, no, shouldn't do this. He's bipolar in a hardcore way, and I mean, just literally personality disorder going on extreme.
On steroids, yep.
Yeah.
How did you guys watch it? Did you guys watch all 3 hours at once, or did anybody break it up?
Nah, I went all through.
I went all the way too, but I did I broke up my notes in like hour 1, hour 2, and hour 3, like The Godfather.
Yeah.
And I will say, like, I do think hour 1 was probably the slowest out of the 2 hours. Like, once hour 1 is over, I feel like the film just picked up and it was a little bit more enjoyable.
Is it just me with Frodo or Elijah Wood? But every time the eye catches him, does he not look like he just took a dump in his pants? Like, every single time, just.
I had this discussion with you guys last year. He was one of my main dislikes of the whole movie. I know we had a little bit of a heated argument about it last year, but again, I felt the same way watching this movie yesterday. Like, man, I just not a big Elijah Wood fan.
And I'm not even really blaming that on Elijah Wood. I think it's just the character. That's how the character's written. That's how the character's supposed to be. It's just he's becoming more and more despondent to reality and life the more he holds the ring and the closer he gets to Mordor. So it's kind of like, how do you play the character? He's not going to go skipping down the road, going into the Black Gate, So
that's good. I like
so
it.
It's
that site is perfect.
What do you guys think of Gollum? I think all of us can agree that Andy Serkis is a very talented actor and stop motion performer. I just think the visuals didn't hold up on this watch,
Well,
to be
I mean,
honest.
they're aging a little bit, but I
Well,
mean, at
yeah.
the same time, the action for that matter and the performance is top notch. Obviously,
I mean,
and I
but
mean,
you said this came out in 2002.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What movies came out just a few years earlier? I mean,
The Matrix and Star Wars,
I mean
Phantom Menace.
those all have aging CGI, but I mean, you think of some of these other movies that came out around that time, and I mean, this movie was praised for years for how far.
Yeah.
But what I can say positive about this film is it might have some I don't know who brought up the CGI, but it might have some, negatives on the CGI, but with it being shot live on location, and then the film looks phenomenal, especially with it
oh
being
yeah,
transferred in 4K. It's I will say that about the Lord of the Rings films is I really enjoy them being shot on location. It just looks really good.
I
Yeah.
heard one time somebody say that this trilogy is a huge like promotional commercial, basically for
New
New
Zealand.
Zealand. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I was just like, that makes perfect sense right there. Just you get so many different shots of the landscapes, and whether it's forest, whether it's wide open plains, the ocean, and all.
And I'll say, like, the visuals in this movie are still astounding. I mean, obviously, it won the Oscar for him. There are just moments where Gollum doesn't look as good as later in the film. Like when they're close up on him, he looks really good. But then, like when it's like far back, it's kind of
You can tell that
stitchy a little bit.
Like he wasn't the main focus of that scene,
Right.
basically. And
Yeah.
I mean, with that whole thing, I got to agree with Juan. Like Elijah Wood or Frodo was kind of an annoyance in this one, more than anything, because
He's a
literally,
whiny
he is a very whiny character. Because literally in the Dead Marshes, for that matter, they're just cooking rabbit stew and chilling and talking about potatoes and how you like stuff raw and how I like it cooked, and you're calling me fat and I'm calling you an idiot, and
Yeah.
then you walk off. And then you're just staring down at some dead elf or something like that in the water, and you just like, start falling. It's just like, what was that for? Like, you can't tell me that had like the ring effect over him to the Dead Marsh just because of that. Like, maybe
Right.
that is it. Maybe I just answered my own question, but at the same time, I'm going, why? Why did you just wander off and then just, I'm gonna take a swim?
The ring pulled it that way, and then
and I'm just like, dude, there's so many different times to where sometimes it's just like, he'll be in one area and then he'll go to another, and one area he's completely tranced, and the other he's just fine.
It's because it's the power of the ring.
I'm like,
it's the ring calling. So whenever he's fine, he just has the ring on him, on his person. But whenever he's in that trance, it's the ring trying to get him to do, it's that pulling him. And I think that's why you see such a stark contrast. And it, like you said, he's completely tranced and then he's fine. It's because they want you to see that stark contrast of how powerful that ring has a hold of him on the carrier.
I feel like this one was much darker than Fellowship, though.
Oh yeah.
Like, as far as some of the scenes and the action scenes go, yeah.
Because I mean, you've got the pile of burning bodies outside the Forest of Dean or
Fangorn.
whatever
Fangorn.
Forest of Dean. Then you've got Legolas, Aragorn, and Gimli going up there and trying to sift through it and find their partners, and they're dead because we found their belt burned, and Aragorn's like, wait, no. And that's another thing right there. Legolas kind of ticked me off with this because literally it's like Aragorn is like 137 or something like that, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
And I think Gimli's like 120, and then Legolas is like 2,000 years old or something. Mm-hmm. But this 137-year-old dude is far more attuned to hunting and discovering how a battle goes, compared to an elf who has almost 1900 years on the dude. And I'm like,
he's a marksman. He's not meant to be on the battlefield. That's why his eyesight is good. Whereas Aragorn, he's a hunter. He's meant to track down people. He's meant for that up close kind of feeling how things go. It's like a quarterback compared to a wide receiver. The quarterback's there to judge the entire field and decipher everything and find little clues here and there, whereas the receiver is just there to, take the long shots.
Thanks, Craig. I never had a football analogy compared to Lord of the Rings. So,
hey, when you come here, you can learn anything. But did that not? Hey, but do you not know what a quarterback does now?
Yeah,
he breaks down. He puts you in the best position. All right.
So what are the hobbits then?
The water, the water people,
and the water boys on the sideline.
Yeah. And then the trolls are the linemen. Yeah.
So we have our fellowship. It's obviously broken up with Sam, Frodo, and Gollum. We have Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas basically hunting Merry and Pippin, who, and then in turn gets caught up with the Ents and Treebeard. What did we think about the Ents and the Treebeard storyline? Was that kind of, is it ridiculous, or is it kind of, it makes sense considering what happens later in the movie?
Compared in the world, or the
larger aspects, or
well, I mean, compared to the world for that matter, like you've got a huge thing with them, because literally their entire life sake is at stake here, literally, and I mean, it shows with Treebeard's decisions or Treebeard and the council's decisions, I guess. But Treebeard goes and he's just chilling with the hobbits, and at first, he squashes the one quick and then grabs up the other two, starts squeezing them a little bit, pumping them for information, goes to the council, and then afterwards he walks out and looks, and there's just forest clearing like nobody's seen before, and he's just like, these were my friends, what's and it's just like, now do you believe us, bro? Like, this has you in it, this is your war, fight with us, man. And he's like, yeah,
I know how the story of the Treebeards, like, it's obviously meant for a part of the story, but I'm sitting here just like, man, is it supposed to be this much time dedicated to that piece of a conversation, or
they wanted it to be intricate? They wanted every little detail.
It's not just that, but I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien, for that matter, has a ton more in that book.
Yeah. Oh my God, guys! I read the book this year, the Two Towers book. Yeah, but the interesting thing is reading the Two Towers book. It's divided. Each book, each Lord of the Rings book is divided up into two sections or other books or whatever. It for a bigger story. But the Two Towers, there's very, very little of Two Towers in the book, to be honest, because it's mostly it begins with Boromir's death from the last book, or continuing from the last book. You have the Helm's Deep, you have the Isengard with Treebeard and the Isengard wolves, and then it jumps into Return of the King. Like at the end of each books, it goes into the Return of the King stuff. So it'd be very interesting to talk to Peter Jackson and his team to kind of see like what was decided for each film, or the divided line. Yeah, the division line between each film to say this is Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. The Treebeard stuff in the book,
because I mean, he's very descriptive.
It's a lot. Yeah,
somewhat dry, very descriptive.
A lot of tree poems that you just want to skip and be like, oh, can we please get through? There's some of that in the extended edition that you just have to fast forward. Yeah.
Did they not film all three movies at once?
Yeah, simultaneously they did. Yeah. They filmed back to back to back, and then once it was kind of, by the time Fellowship was actually in theaters, Two Towers was shot and ready to go, basically. All they had to do was go back and do pickup shots. Basically, that's a theme of Peter Jackson, just to get some extra stuff.
I thought you meant like they were filming. Yeah, they filmed bits and pieces between everything, like where it made sense, and they filled in later on down. Yeah,
right.
And I mean, you've got dedication from a lot of different actors and actresses in this. One such, and I mean, you'll probably know exactly where I'm going with this, Zach, and y'all too might as well. With Viggo Mortensen literally breaking toes on that kick where he screams at beside the death pile. When he kicks that helmet, there was how many takes? Like 15 or so, and he
did 15 of them, and he doesn't have like the scream, the pain, and then he really kicks it. He kicks his foot so hard on the metal Urkai helmet that he breaks his toe. Viggo Mortensen breaks his toe in that scene.
So literally, what you're hearing is his scream of pain of breaking a few toes. Yeah. And it adds because he didn't break character really at all in that when he was on screen and all that. He didn't break at all, and
the dedication is real.
So I mean, it's little stuff like that made the movie just a little bit extra, deep and kind of good.
I think this is among the few that it's so real with it being shot on location. With everything being prosthetics, not there's only a few things that are CGI throughout the entire thing. It's only CGI if they have to have CGI. Everything else was pretty much prosthetics, and I think that's what really helps it stand the test of time. If you go through and you were to CGI every little thing, like if you were to have CGI the orcs in this thing, the budget would have been outrageous. It probably would have looked like Spawn. Shots fired, I guess, but
I mean, there are moments when when Aragorn is looking out after he falls off the cliff from the wolf fight, he sees like the Urkai army. I mean, that's CGI, but it looks good, compared to what it could have been.
Well, and I mean, with this entire film, there were a lot of extras that they brought along that were, if I'm not mistaken, like D&D players and cosplayers and stuff like that. That they gone ahead and outfitted, and different things like that. So it kind of is a very, very cool thing. And this essentially is kind of like, I don't know when D&D was truly created, but this is kind of like a
D&D's been around for a long time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien died back in 1903 or 13 or something like that. So, I mean, out of this entire cast, the one person to meet him was Christopher Lloyd. Or
Christopher Lee.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Lee. And I mean, Christopher Lee has his own storied life, for that matter, that, he's got so much going.
Let's be honest with you, John. Let me be honest with you, Johnny. If Christopher Walken was in this, that would have been my number one last week. Christopher Walken movies.
Oh yeah, for sure. Which was a great top 5 last week. If you guys did not check it out,
give me your best Christopher Walken.
Oh, I can't. That's only a handful of people can do that.
And one of them is not even Christopher Walken.
That's funny.
But like I said, there are moments in this film that I think we could have cut out or fast forward or but. Is there a wasted moment in this film? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm going to give this movie a good grade, but there are moments where I'm just like, all right, can we just fast forward through this or just move at a better pace? Johnny, Johnny, for you, it was just, how was this? Like you said, you had some pacing problems. What was your biggest thing about it?
The first hour and a half. I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if, and again, it's going to sound like I'm just crapping on this film, this particular film, but even out of Fellowship, I had this is bad, because it's not a terrible movie. I promise you, I know it's not, but I had zero interest in the story. I had zero interest. The story did not gravitate me. I mean, I didn't go towards the story. I was twiddling my thumbs. My phone was on the charger. I only checked my phone twice during this 3-hour movie.
That's why.
And other than that, I was just zoomed in on the screen, but I was just not thoroughly entertained.
Yeah, we got your text. Even in 4K, I'm not impressed. Yeah, we got it.
It was just I just had a really tough time, enjoying this movie. I don't know what it is.
Downer.
Yeah.
Zach, like kind of being, this is kind of what Harry Potter is to me, for you for that matter, is Lord of the Rings, So I mean,
Right.
being that as it is, what do you think could have gained from this could have gained from something from the books? Kind of like, something small, like with Harry's green eyes instead of the blue eyes because he, stuff like that, or something even bigger with lore behind it. Or do you think they could have dropped a few things, made the Ents smaller time, or not really traveled to Helm's Deep and seen all the poor people in there and, just gone right to the war or something like that? You know what I mean? Like,
we're not
what
here
do you
to
think?
we're not here to accommodate the casuals.
No, it's just I feel like I understand what Peter Jackson's trying to do with this is he's trying to give each character or sets of characters their time in the sun, which I mean, in retrospect, when you really think about it, I think Merry and Pippin have the least amount of time, to be honest, until they get to the battle, until they get to the Isengard fight at the end of the movie. I mean, and you have to set up stakes, and I get that, but some of this is. I don't think you need as much time with the Ents. I think the road to Helm's Deep could be cut down. I think, while I think Theoden is a good character, he's basically juggling whether to go to war throughout the entire length of the movie until you get to the Helm's Deep battle, and it's really basically Gandalf that says, war, or Aragorn that says war is imminent. So what are you going to do about it, basically? So it just, I think the Faramir stuff, which is Boromir's brother, I think that kind of slows it down. When we get to the cave and they're threatening to kill Gollum and everything, I think that really slows it down a little bit. So
yeah, that I think the elves, when they visit the elves, I think that kind of takes a little bit of time. I think the trees take a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you would have just cut down literally every storyline, every side story, 5 to 10 minutes, we could pick and choose and break it down as far as we wanted to. But if you just, as a general consensus, every little storyline, break it down 5 minutes, 10 minutes, take it out of the movie, make it 2.5 hours. Maybe it's a little faster paced, but maybe you don't get as much detail and information. You kind of,
and that's when you go watch the extended edition.
Yeah,
But,
they said cut it down. 3 hours is cut down.
Honestly, so do y'all think after seeing a lot of this, like when they gone up to the Black Gates, that, and I know he probably does, but do y'all think that Smeagol has PTSD from there, traumatic PTSD?
I mean, I would guess just the way he acts about it. He's very scared and closing his eyes and whimpering a lot. So I mean, it would make sense.
Because I mean, he just Because I mean, you see in which one was it that you seen him getting tortured in? Was it part of the
Fellowship? It's Fellowship.
Okay, it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't. It's either Fellowship or the Bilbo Baggins trilogy.
The Hobbit.
The Hobbit. I was like, I know it's one of those two, but you literally see the dude on a stretcher, and I mean that's
And something that kind of watching Two Towers, at least in this Peter Jackson trilogy, it makes me appreciate it a lot more. Like you said, I think it was Craig or Johnny that said they all filmed it in New Zealand. A lot of the outside landscapes, those are real. Those were shot on location. I haven't seen the Rings of Power show on Amazon Prime, but that primarily is probably all CGI and sound stages and green screen, and that it takes away from the
experience,
the experience and the epic scale on what this story is supposed to be.
Because I mean,
it takes away a lot of the mythology of the universe that is Lord of the Rings,
or even the realness to it, for that matter.
And
right,
that's why, Johnny, I'm sure you'll agree with this. That's why I really enjoy Rogue One. is because a lot of the other Star Wars movies are filmed on a stage with a green screen behind them, doing kind of stunts there. That first Rogue One shot, when I can't remember the names or anything, but when they go to find the family and that little girl, that's on location, and it is a beautiful shot. And that's just something you just can't do real like that on a screen, on a green screen.
Yeah.
Zach, let's talk about the Oscars that this movie won. So, I want to say this. To me, all three movies, you could line them up back to back to back. I could watch all 9.5 hours, and I feel like same thing, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Is it the competition that was out there these years, or what's the difference between how this one only won 2 awards, and the next year later, the Return of the King, I think swept and did 12 out of 12 or won 11 out of 12. What's the difference?
The biggest difference.
I'm sorry. I know we'll say Return of the King talk for Return of the King, but I'm sitting here thinking and watching Two Towers, and I'm like, I feel like it's the same sound, it's the same CGI, it's the same on location, it's the same dialogue, it's a lot of the same action, and a lot of the same cinematography. So what made Return of the King stand out and win all the awards compared to Fellowship and Two Towers?
Well, to put this in perspective, the year that Two Towers was nominated, Chicago won Best Picture, which there was also Gangs of New York, The Hours, and The Pianist. But I think
there.
Yeah.
The Pianist.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good movie.
It is actually a pretty good movie. I think the biggest thing is that, and this is the same argument that's going to be going on for Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, because Dune won a lot of the awards, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Part 2. Mm-hmm. It's the thing is the Academy, and from my understanding, is that they're not going to award the same movie every year. They're going to wait for. I think Fellowship easily could have won Best Picture, but they decided on Return of the King, which I think when we get to Return of the King, it's a lot more epic in scale. It really is a masterpiece of a film. I know I'm really hitting the highs here, Johnny, and next year when you say this movie sucks, I'll be prepared. But it's just one of those things that if you're going to pick...
Watch me like it, and everybody's going to be like, oh, it's just because it won Oscar for Best Picture. That's why you like it.
Right. It's on your little shelf back there. I think it really just comes down to which one is made at the maximum. I think that's what it really comes down to. I think Return of the King is a very well-made movie, and Two Towers is good.
It's the most
it's the most emotional of the three.
You say why did 2 win? Not win everything, but 3 did. It's 3 ties up everything, so everybody has closure on everything. So it feels like it's more complete to the viewer, and so they're like, I have gratification when this music plays because I'm feeling it being completed. Whereas this music was just kind of hollow because I knew there was still more to come, so there wasn't that epic conclusion with it. And that's probably what you were getting with 3.
Yeah, and I mean, and 3
it's like college
has
football. Like that same Saturday music, it sounds good during the season, but come championship weekend, something a little bit more to it. You know what I mean? Like that NBC opening sound, it's good during the season. A little more to it come week 16 when you're fighting for that playoff spot. Now Johnny gets it. There we go.
Yeah. So, but I mean, let's talk about like the big, the epic, the main action sequence in this film is the Helm's Deep sequence. To me, seeing that in the theater was very iconic. I mean, it was just like, anytime it cuts back to Treebeard and Mary and Pip, I was like, no one cares. Go back to Helm's Deep and just see Aragorn, Gimli, the Gimli and Legolas gimmick of them counting their kills, it kills me every time.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, because I mean, don't get me wrong, with that big ladder, that he shot the string off of, and it broke and fell on all those. Are those counted? You know what I mean? Because he went
Yeah.
from 22 to 175 or something.
And Gimli is so excited. I got 2, and Legolas is like, I got 19, bro. Let's try to keep
my
up.
boy, you're rookie. But I mean, you've got Legolas sliding down on the shield. You've got Gimli and Aragorn out there trying to free up time so they can repair the door. And Gimli is getting tossed and said, "Don't tell the elf."
I mean, and the whole Helm's Deep explodes, which is like masterfully well done.
Well, I mean, that whole gimmick right there that they've got against each other, it's a friendly rivalry because literally Gimli cares what Legolas thinks, because Aragorn's like, I'm doing my thing, man. I'm trying to just save people. Like I'm Captain Save-A-Ho. And, he's out here doing his thing, but Gimli and Legolas is out there kind of going against each other. But that one little partial piece of dialogue that he goes, "Don't tell the elf," when he gets thrown, and all that really kind of sets the stage for his and Legolas's bigger sides to each other and how they look at each other. But I mean, that whole battle is just monumentally epic. Like, it's a monstrous thing, and you've got that whole blowing up right there, which kind of, I get the sewage system and all that, but it's like, you didn't think about that, like, you built this as the impenetrable fortress and it's been held up for how long? But I guess they may not have thought about gunpowder, or
we need to make a segment on the show called Logistics with Ed about these movies.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's got to be the only part that I can see of why they didn't really prepare for that.
Well,
is because they didn't think of gunpowder at all, so they didn't.
Well,
think
it's kind of like
up.
the hole in the Death Star. You shoot the missiles in there and it blows up. I didn't think about that till just now. So
yeah, and I mean that's very fair. Actually, that's a nice comparison.
What's up with that? That segment.
But yeah, I mean, that had a lot of great just scenes in it by itself, because I mean, you've got you've got Aragorn being thrown from the blow up of that part of the castle, to him getting up and all that from the dirt, fighting and then going towards the elves.
Gimli jumps off the wall to try to protect Aragorn.
But at the same time, you've got him going up to the elves like, "Bro, I need you. Let's go." And the elves are like, "Let's go." It's just like, the hell?
What do you think about it, Johnny? Did it kind of liven it up a little bit where you can enjoy it?
Just a little bit. I enjoyed the action of the battle scenes, and a lot of the just the intimidation between both parties. But I got to tell you, I mean, I'm still sitting here just kind of like twiddling my thumbs. Like, I understand why they're fighting for what they're fighting for, but again, it's like, did I really need to sit through a 3-hour film to get the logistics of this battle scene for the hype of the end of the film? So,
does it bother you? Is it because there's another one? Is it because this is not the end and Return of the King is like the final that ends everything?
I don't think so, because I've never seen Two Towers, so this was a first time watch for me. So going off of a first time watch, I'm just sitting here like, it doesn't bother me that I know that there's another 3.5-hour movie after this one, but it does kind of just bother me that, I feel like there's no meaning towards any of the characters in the battle scenes that I'm watching, because I already kind of know who lives and who goes on to the next. So I guess to answer your question, yeah, I guess that kind of
we got a little bit of a Halloween 2020 going on.
Yeah,
where it's like
Halloween ends or Halloween kills.
At the moment, you're like, man, it's just the stupid battle. you know, there's no victor or whatever. But then when you see the ending, you're kind of like, okay, now I see why that battle was so dire. Maybe you'll get that.
That's true. And I talked to Zach about this last year. I was like, you know what? Hey, should I watch 1, 2, and 3 back to back before I review Fellowship of the Ring? And Zach was like, his honest opinion was like, just watch Fellowship. And
You might jump on and watch the final one this week and just see if that kind of changes anything with it being fresh.
So going to the same thing, I was like, hey, it's Two Towers week. Should I watch Fellowship, Two Towers, and or Return of the King, or just Two Towers? And I sat and just watched Two Towers, and I'm just sitting here still like, man, I get the mythology of Lord of the Rings. I get the why it's considered one of the greatest epics of all time. And I get why it was nominated for Oscars for all three films, but it's still just one of those like maybe it's just not my cup of tea. I am gonna watch. I think before the next few weeks. I think before the probably the first of the year, or maybe even a little after. I think I am gonna watch all six, just so I can get the lore behind everything. I think I'll spend 1 week to watch 3 films and then another week to watch the other 3. But I think that would do me some good, because just watching Two Towers as a film and as a whole, it's not a good film to me, and I would not pick it up to watch it again as far as rewatchability goes.
That's fair.
So
That's fair.
what if every single Legolas scene that he's in, you put Avatar sunglasses or aviator sunglasses on him?
So is that a jab? Maybe if he looked like Tom Cruise, I would enjoy the movie.
Well, not really, but I mean, hey, maybe I wasn't going there.
If Two Towers had an extraordinary story, like Maverick would, I probably would enjoy it.
More Two Towers was that it's just an in between kind of deal. It's almost filler to a degree, but it's kind of like
that did the movie no justice at all. Calling it filler.
It kind of is though, but because I mean, it's literally kind of the telling of how everything's coming together. It's not necessarily.
No, so look at it this way, Johnny. Maverick is one film, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like what, 245, 240, right?
Probably.
Okay, now picture the middle hour of Maverick. Would that be a solid film if it was just the middle hour?
Well, you don't have to.
Answer the question.
It wouldn't be, but you don't have to sell me on the middle hour of a film, because I think even though some people might consider me wasting my time with all 6 films, like I still think that to me would hold itself justice for me. But I still think at the end of the day, with me watching all 6 and knowing the story from start to end, I still think I might be like, it's not my cup of tea.
That's not my question.
I think it's going to be kind of a Last Jedi kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Don't compare.
Now we're bringing up the Last Jedi.
No, so what I'm saying is you can't. 1, 2, and 3, yes, they are separate movies, but they tell one story.
Yeah.
Whereas Episode 7 of Star Wars, you can get one story out of it. It has an ending. It has a beginning and an ending. Episode 2 has a beginning. You don't really know what happens throughout the rest, and then 3 has a sort of a beginning and an ending.
Well, see, I don't feel that way about Lord of the Rings. I don't feel like each film, because let's look at different sagas throughout the history of film. You could pick out, and Zach, you go ahead and stop me and disagree with me. You could pick out certain films of a saga and be like, this is one solid movie. I enjoy this movie. With me, right, and this is my opinion, with Lord of the Rings, I feel like I can't enjoy Fellowship right now, or I did not enjoy Two Towers. So at the way I'm feeling right now, I feel like I have to watch at least the last 3 Lord of the Ring movies to understand the whole story in general. Like I can't. I don't know if I can just enjoy Two Towers right now more than Fellowship. Right now, since I've seen 1 and 2, I enjoy Fellowship a little bit more than Two Towers.
Because I mean, the point he does have is that it kind of comes out of nowhere, and then just kind of goes to almost nowhere. Because I mean,
And I think that's what's. I mean, this isn't. I don't have Return of the King or any of those next to me, but like, if 3 movies, to me, out of the Lord of the Ring movies, if all 3 movies feel like one big gigantic story, and I have to enjoy the story to enjoy all 3 movies, like then it's taken
I
away.
I agree. I don't agree with that because it's like, yeah, Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King is one big story, but in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, I enjoy Fellowship more than Two Towers. I like aspects of Return of the King better than Fellowship. It's just it is telling a complete whole story, but as a viewer, there are things from each film that I like, and as a whole, I think I enjoy Fellowship more, probably just because I've seen it more. But it's just,
And
it's like take
that's probably
take the trilogy of Toy Story, exclude the 4th one. There are things that Craig, don't be giving me death on him there. Each one of
Better
those
not
films,
miss
I
the
think
step.
all of us, I think we can all agree each one of those films are almost flawless, perfect films. But in the
But
grand scheme of
hold on
things,
a second. I also don't think you can compare the two because one's an hour and 29 minutes and the other one is near damn near 4 hours long.
no, I'm well. They're both critically. All 3 of the films are both critically well received in each trilogy. But it's just, what's your cup of tea? Do you like Toy Story 2 more than 1? Do you like 3 better than 2? It is what it is. In each trilogy, someone's gonna like something better than the other films. And something in each film.
Putting it that way, like, I do think the reason I do enjoy Fellowship a little bit more because I have seen that movie like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. And maybe
this is
if you watch Two Towers more, you might enjoy it more.
But even that being said, I still think it goes right up my alley as far as just maybe not being my cup of tea because even with me seeing Fellowship 3 or 4 times, it's still not memorable for me. Like if I'm wanting to watch a long paced out mythology kind of film about that kind of stuff, I don't think Lord of the Rings would even be in my top 5 as far as I want to watch something like that. Let me pull that. Where I could be like, hey, I could watch 2 episodes of Game of Thrones and feel just as satisfied as watching a full movie of Lord of the Rings. When I'm talking about just stuff from that day and age is film kind of stuff. Yeah.
Craig, did you see all 3 of the films in theaters?
Yep.
What about you, Ed?
No. I actually never seen any one of the 3 in theaters for that matter.
But you did, Ed, watch them when the popularity was at its height.
Yes, but not right. Because I mean, like, okay, this one
were
was
you like
released
a year.
You
Were
saw
you
it
like
in the
a
first
year after
5 years it came out.
Within the 5 years, yes.
So I think that also could have something to do with it because I never got into Lord of the Rings. The very first time I watched Fellowship of the Ring was probably maybe 3 to 5 years ago.
And maybe that's it because these were very big theatrical releases, and I remember going to see them. Well, Two Towers and Return of the King when they came out, and so to me, it was these. Like Craig said, these were event type films,
Yeah.
and so we got into it, and we just enjoyed. We enjoy it.
Which makes sense. If you're into something when it first comes out, or you even watch it in its first 5 years of its height of the popularity, you're gonna be interested in every single part of the aspect of the story.
Yeah.
I would see them come on TNT, or I would see people do like marathons and stuff, and I just never got into it. I could never enjoy the storyboard of the Lord of the Rings.
It was the Infinity War of 2000s.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Made
But
damn near $1 billion when ticket sales were about $8 a piece.
And
that third one made $1 billion.
so I think throughout time, maybe as I try to watch them a little bit more, I think the conversation will definitely be a little bit more broader for me. But right now,
Right.
it's just it wasn't my cup of tea as far as Two Towers go. And I would like to see
Is
where you guys think maybe some of your favorite scenes would be.
if I had to pick a couple favorites, the opening with Gandalf is really good. Probably honestly my favorite scene in the entire film is the when they go visit Theoden and Rohan, and Gandalf kind of like the music swells, and Aragorn, Gimli, and Legolas are fighting off like the goons, and as Gandalf walks up and basically does an exorcism to Theoden.
Told you to take the old man's staff.
Exactly. It's actually a really well film scene. So
Yeah.
My favorite scene would probably be the little battle where Aragon, who you think goes to his death and rolls off the cliff.
the Wolves of Isengard. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good fight scene, and that was placed to me right where it should have been, because it was one of those scenes that did keep me like, I was maybe having issues with the pacing, but as soon as that scene picked up, I was like, oh, okay, things are gonna start getting somewhere fast. So if I had to pick just one, I would think that would probably be my favorite scene.
Okay. What about you, Ed?
I would actually say that right before the old man pulls his bow on accident, that just the sheer size, especially when that lightning bolt goes off behind the Uruk-hai army, and it's just the sheer numbers are just blatantly disregarded, and it does not care. It's in your face. That I would probably actually say that I think the most beautiful scene in this entire movie is the scene of Gollum down in the forbidden pond or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like as soon as Faramir is talking to Frodo and shows him, the moonlight cascading and all that down to Gollum, and then Gollum singing his little juicy sweet song and all that was just beautiful and dark at the same time, because the imagery is just breathtaking. And then the Gollum or Andy Serkis's performance is just dark and demented.
That scene when you're talking about, Ed, when the old man lets the arrow go too quick, it's a Uruk-hai army of 10,000. Every time I see that, I was like, all right, 9,990 to go.
Yeah. That, and then probably another one of my favorites is the true battle of the Ints. Whenever they're just wreaking havoc all over every one of them. One is burning and he goes into the water and just washes himself off. And, meanwhile, Treebeard has two things crawling on him, in the Hobbits, and he's just still kicking ass.
Yeah. What about you, Craig?
Yeah, so I agree with you. The beginning scene where Gandalf's falling, it's just like you're jumping in immediately, because at that point you had no idea what's going on with Gandalf. For people who didn't read the books, and you're just immediately get Gandalf, who was a loved character in the first one, falling and fighting against the huge monster, Balrog, and it was satisfying to be able to see at the beginning that Gandalf was good. So you're not having to sit there and worry 2 hours into the movie, and then you finally see. Could you imagine not seeing Gandalf until he shows up to the fight?
Dude.
Yeah.
That would be. I mean,
that'd be a big twist.
It would have been epic. But
I mean,
you would have to go back and explain it.
Most of it, you think that it's Sauron, or Saruman.
Oh, yeah.
Because I mean, literally the white wizard. You're like, oh god, here we go.
And that's from the book. They took that. That's like for page by page from the book.
Yep.
So I'd say the beginning, and then just the fight at the wall. I wish it was a little bit brighter. I think the darkness kind of takes away from a lot of stuff, but I do like the lightning and the rain
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah.
But I think, in having it dark, it's not going to be as bloody, so it's not going to be as graphic for the average viewer. So I think that was a smart take on their part to have it that dark.
Well, and I think it gives it like a much more like with the rain and this like the slickness, it gives it like a more gritty feel to it. Like you're just like right in the middle of the battle.
Because you hear every squish and squash and just that suction of the foot coming up out of the mud. That
Your feet suction to the mud.
or that.
That's how he sounds when he walks with no shoes. Star rating, guys, for
Damn
Two
it.
Towers. Craig, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go with a 9. I think it's solid. It's an excellent movie for me. Again, this is something that when the first one was done, I had already known that the second one was coming. So it was a big family event for me. Nostalgia included, just kind of memories included. That's a 9.
For me, like I said, I'm not gonna completely crap on this movie. I'm pushing it out as, it's got great cinematography. The score is epic. It definitely does feel like an epic kind of a movie, but I'm also not gonna sit here and say, because I trashed on it for a little bit for most of the episode. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, yep, it's an 8 or a 7. Not my cup of tea. It's not going to be the first Lord of the Rings movie I go for, and it damn sure isn't going to be the first movie I go for, period. I'm going to give this movie a 6. I think it's a full 2.5 hours of traveling and walking. If you guys want my full take on the Lord of the Rings, in Clerks 2, they have a perfect description of Lord of the Rings. It's just not my cup of tea. So far, I've seen 2 movies, 6.5 hours of traveling with a few battle scenes here and there. So again, I'm not gonna go back on my word. It just wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't enjoy it this time around. It could change. We're all about rewatchability, but right now it stands at a 6 for me. So, Edward, how many stars do you give it?
Well, I like mythology and all that good stuff. So I guess this is my cup of tea. So I'm going to give it a 9, just like old Craig there. Man, this movie is maybe not the best of the 3, but nonetheless, it is a very, very epic film. It is a very big film. So, yeah.
Zach, finish us off.
3 out of 3, 9 out of 10. Like I agree with you, Ed. It's probably not the best of the trilogy, but it's still a very well-made movie. There's a lot of epicness to it. The pacing of it really slows down compared to the first one, but overall, I still had a good time watching it. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, if you guys want to send us your star rating for this movie for Two Towers, send us in an email at cinemen921@gmail.com. Like I said, I'm going to read some new emails today, and I'm going to read most of the emails from last week, just because of how Zach's audio was. You guys can also hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Send us some messages there with your star ratings, favorite scenes. Let us know your top 5. Next week's top 5. If anybody wants to play ahead of time, since Avatar: The Way of Water is coming out, we are going to talk about our top 5 James Cameron movies, since we are reviewing the 25th anniversary of
On the
Titanic
date
of next week. Titanic came out December 19th, 1997. We're talking about Titanic 25 years later, next week, December 19th. But
mine are Avatar original release, Avatar 3D re-release, 10-year anniversary, Titanic 20-year anniversary.
To beat Avatar beating Endgame release.
And then Endgame release. Yeah.
So let's dig into the
That's
email.
good. That's good.
Let's dig into the email bag. Let's start off with Nathaniel says people always hate on Titanic. but I'm super excited to hear y'all's honest opinion. That film kind of changed film history. I'm giving it a. I'm going to read the
8.
star rating next week.
Oh, okay.
Carrie 347 says Two Towers is such an underrated Lord of the Rings film. It could possibly be my favorite out of the 6. I would give it a 10. Toby says, where has Man on Fire been my whole life? What a film. 9 stars.
It's an excellent film.
Did you get Ed, Craig? Ed, did you watch it?
Oh,
Or
I
did you
did.
get a chance to watch it? Okay.
I did.
What about you, Ed?
Yeah.
Sam G69 says Power Rangers was a throwback, but God, what an awful film. Reliving it in your 30s is like having a hysterectomy. I would give it 4 stars if I'm being honest.
Damn. So, my man, did you?
Yeah, I
Did
finished
you fail
it.
me?
No, I finished it.
Okay, so I mean, did it get a little better for you?
No,
Like,
it was
I'm not
terrible.
saying it's great. Don't get me wrong.
How many
But,
No,
like,
how many
I
stars would you
literally,
give it, Zach?
I literally wanted to claw my eyes with a cheese grater. It was that bad.
How many stars would you give it?
3.
okay. I mean, no.
So I
I'm
finished
cool.
it. So I finished it.
No.
So
Like I said that time, man, I'm cool with that.
Jeffrey says
As long as you finish.
my top 5 90s nostalgia would be Tang,
Oh,
Free Willy,
Putty Tang.
Michael Jordan ballpark commercials, the ketchup and mustard different colored bottles,
Yeah.
and then number 1 is Nickelodeon bath slime.
yeah.
Sorry, you said commercials. I thought you were talking about movies, and I was like, Pootie Tang?
Oh no, he said Michael Jordan ballpark commercials.
Yeah, and yeah, the Tang. Yeah.
Sarah97 says, Man on Fire is such a good rewatch. I really can't wait for your Denzel episode. Should be fun. Man on Fire gets 9 stars.
That's hard to believe. That's 2 weeks. That's 2 weeks away. Our
2
Denzel
weeks
episode.
away after we started a Tragedy Macbeth in January.
Yeah.
So should be pretty fun. Steven says everyone hating on Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was pure fun for me. I loved the rewatch. 8 stars.
There you go, Ed.
Henry says, shout out to you guys for discussing Wednesday. Such a fun series. Can't wait for more. 9 stars.
I agree. Very Tim Burton.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Very Tim Burton. The Hyde character was kind of weird. I won't say much more. Yeah, I forgot you're not finished. But you've seen the Hyde, right?
The episode that I got to, the last episode I saw was the dance where she does the dance at the prom thing. She had COVID when she did that.
Oh really?
Yeah. She wanted to do a whole nother thing, but they said no because they had to move on. But yeah, if that was one take,
that's why she got down with a little bit of boogie.
If that was one take, that was awesome.
Down with the sickness.
Well, I think it was, but at the same time, she actually choreographed that herself because she felt it would be very Wednesday-ish.
Awesome. I didn't know this was a Wednesday episode. Gabriel.
Dang, dude.
Gabriel says, loved Man on Fire. It could be, but we're on Mondays. Gabriel said, loved Man on Fire. First time watch, but I really hated the ending. Can't wait to hear y'all's thoughts. 8 stars.
Was that your complaint for the movie, Johnny?
I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the ending either, but it's based on a true story, so
it could be like a Friday episode.
Just stop.
Nicholas, Man on Fire was not fire. Too long, it dragged out, and the ending was ass. 5 stars. Worst Denzel movie I've ever seen.
Oh,
damn.
Finally got around to see Black Panther. It was worthy of a sequel, but not as good as I thought it would be. Still gets 7 stars from Omar. So Black Panther got 7 stars.
We didn't talk about it, but Angela Bassett did get nominated for a Golden Globe for that. So that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, Golden Globe nominations came out.
Yep. You just want me? I got the list. You just want me to name
Oh.
off the favorite film, the top films.
I just want to hear the nominations for Best Picture.
Best Picture. Okay, so it's the Golden Globes are nominated by drama and musical or comedy. So, musical or comedy is Babylon, The Banshees of Inisherin. Craig, your favorite movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Glass Onion, a Knives Out Mystery, and Triangle of Sadness. And then for Best Picture Drama, we have Avatar, The Way of Water, Elvis, The Fabelmans, Tar, and believe it or not, Top Gun Maverick.
Oh,
So-
nice, awesome. I'm when are the Golden Globes, Zach? February.
The second, I believe, January 2nd or the 12th, something
Oh,
like that.
nice. So it's only about a month away. I would be interesting to see who wins as far as drama goes, but
Yeah.
that should be pretty fun. Next week, guys, Monday, December 19th, we talk Titanic, the 25th anniversary on the 25th anniversary date. Top 5 James Cameron movies. It's hard to believe, guys. There's only 2 episodes left of December, and then we say hello to 2023. Does anybody else have anything that they want to mention as far as today's episode before we stick the final nail in the coffin on Two Towers?
No.
No, so far so good.
Next week, Titanic.
Hold me,
Craig,
Jack.
you have anything you want to talk about today before we head out?
So what if Zach goes and sees Avatar and he's like, dude, it's the greatest movie of all time.
You know,
Like-
then we'll have to just fit it in somewhere in January.
We're not gonna try to go.
I mean, if you all 3 can go see it. Hold on a second. If you
I
all
don't
3
think Craig wants to talk about Titanic.
if you all 3 can go see it, hold on. I'm being serious, and this is like because
What about you? Can,
next week we were supposed to review Avatar: The Way of Water. If you guys can all 3 go see it, by all means, go see the movie, and we will dedicate the entire show next week to Avatar. I just won't be available for the review part. There's no way I can go see it.
in the next 2 weeks, you can't go see it. Not
And
once.
I can in the next 2 weeks, but I am not moving my boy Denzel out of that 26th slot of December.
If you want to save it for January, I mean, we could do that. That's fine.
So it's completely.
I'm just like, we probably won't even review it at all. But I'm just saying, like, what if Zach comes in and he's like, bro,
I mean, Craig and Ed, are you guys going to see it between now and next Monday?
I'm waiting on Zach to tell me.
No.
I trust Zach in his
Let's-
review of this film.
Let's do Titanic, and I'll do like a mini review of Avatar for next week.
No.
No, he can do a non-spoiler review for Avatar, and if he says it's good, and he's like, man, I would pay to go see it again, then you know what? Maybe Elvis gets bumped a week, and we open up the year with Avatar 2.
Oh.
So wouldn't be the first time Elvis got bumped.
Oh,
Jeremy sent in a instant message.
Jesus.
It should be fun to talk about the Lord of the Rings movie, so this ought to be good. Well, Jeremy, we finished talking about Lord of the Rings. I hope you can stick around and go back and rewatch this as it's live on demand, or you can wait for the audio to drop and listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts at. But until then, guys, next week, Titanic, we shall sink it again. We talk about it next week, Monday, December 19th. Right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.